Hi everyone, this is Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. We have a very challenging case here, and it involves a patient who attended with occluding earwax in both ears. This is their left ear, you're seeing at the moment, and we're just going to commence with this their right ear first. You may have noticed at the entrance of both ears, they've got really dry, flaky skin, it's a bit of otitis externa there. And this patient has been using a Q-tip, it's a cotton bud in the UK. They've also been using some drops, some softening drops, which did soften the surface of this wax plug, but beyond that, the drops didn't penetrate. Now, what makes this procedure a challenging procedure is the consistency of this wax plug. I would describe it as chewing gum or Blu-Tack, and it's lodged into the anterior recess. Now that's not obviously visible at the moment, and already you may be able to notice the consistency. When I positioned and placed the suction probe up against the wax plug there, it made an indentation as opposed to suctioning it. So I'm just using the new right ear pick, just obviously gauging what's going on here, because sometimes the periphery of this wax plug can be a bit like chewing gum or Blu-Tack, but the core is a bit hardened. But you can see what's happened there. It's just indented the ear pick right to the centre. It's dissected it. So I'm now going to spar with this using the right correct. So we're going to use the full range of instruments during the procedure, including forceps. Now forceps it wasn't very helpful because of the texture of this. It was just cutting through it, but I did resort to that as well because it was really difficult otherwise. I just thought I'd give it a go. So again, just getting the right correct over and top, and what I was finding that was happening, you may see it now or a bit later, it's because of the consistency of this. You could also describe it as soft butter, and the correct was just spreading it almost like spreading and layering butter or jam on your toast. And so I've just lifted it up off the floor of the ear canal because it was spreading against that. So the entrance is very bendy and twisty. They've got quite a few cilia there, hair strands. They're almost like whiskers on a few occasions. Obviously I've edited it out, but as I went in, there's some oils and sweats on these hair strands that smeared the lens of the endoscope, so I had to come back out and wipe that away. And you can see there's some resistance here. I'm trying to bring this through, but it is lodged. And we kind of know this patient has been poking in their ears because the lateral aspect, so the part of the wax plug facing us, there's a few matted hairs there, so that's been pushed into the wax plug. And that's a good illustration. Right in the centre, that was the mark made by the suction probe. So once more, I want to see if I can just cut this away. So I'm doing it really slowly. I don't want to bring the pick in too quickly because I will just go through it like I did before, like a hot knife through butter. And I'm going to the front, I'm trying to lift it away. But wasn't really successful in that, what I was trying to achieve there. So I've got to stretch the ear open. I'm going in with the endoscope. I'm pushing it, pulling it to the left. And then I can get the instrument in. So we've got to be careful, this because the tip of the earpick is quite pointed, so you've got to really be careful to avoid the canal walls when using the ear pick. Here's when I used the forceps, and I'm trying to grab onto something, but as soon as I grabbed onto this, you can see it just cut away. So the forceps definitely weren't going to assist. I just put some olive oil in there just to help bind it. I want to change the consistency of this wax plug, and I also want to lubricate the canal walls. Now what I'm doing, as I'm suctioning, I'm coming away and trying to angle it upwards as well, trying to rotate this. So we're on the back part of the ear canal. I want to separate this off the back if it's adhered. And again, as I'm getting a suction grip, I want to rotate it upwards. I'm going to change the angulation of this. Think about when you're moving furniture from one room to another and you're having to rotate it in a certain way to get it through the door frame. And sometimes with a wax plug, you're having to do that. And you'll see that when I eventually do get this out, it's not straightforward, guys, unfortunately. So you're going to have to bear with me on this. And the end of this wax plug, and you'll see it at the end once I get it out, is right up against the eardrum. The eardrum was quite red afterwards. So what I'm trying to do here with the ear pick is just cut it into little pieces now. I'm trying to reduce the size of this and then suction away. So as I'm coming back with the ear pick, I've got to be careful that the end doesn't graze it. And there's just a gap open here, and I want to see if I can just glide it in and behind. It's way too mushy. But I think I do get some leverage at one section. Here we are. So that was a bit unexpected. So it did lift it away slightly. So I think I've used everything barring the new right ear hook, and I think that's coming up shortly. So now that I've broken it up to little pieces, I've dissected through it, I was hoping that with the suction that it will separate. It's all kind of coagulated together. And this is right up against the patient's bony aspect of the ear canal, the osseous portion, which is very, very sensitive. For anyone new to the channel, your ear canal can be subdivided into thirds. The outer third is made up of cartilage. The cartilage portion of the ear canal is not only flexible, but it's got a thick layer of skin, like a buffer. So you've got the layer of skin, it's 3 layers. You've got the epidermis, which is the outer protective layer. It's about 0.1 millimeters in thickness. You then got the dermis layer, which is probably about 0.45 millimeters in thickness. And then you've got the subcutaneous layer, which is made up of insulating fat. So that provides a buffer against the cartilage. And cartilage you can manipulate, you can maneuver. But the bony part you can't, of course. That's rigid, it's sensitive, because the skin that lines the ear canal, it's just the outer epidermis layer. You don't have the dermis and the subcutaneous insulating fat layer. So whenever you're working on the bony part, you've got to be really, really careful. And you may be able to see here on the right hand side, the ear canal, it veers off to the right. And that's what creates the anterior recess. And this plug, it curls to the right beyond that front section of the ear canal. So again, I'm just trying to wriggle this. And you probably see it's locked in place. I'm wriggling it, it just doesn't want to come forward. So there's something trapping that. Pulling down on it now, I'm trying to separate it. I think it's starting to come away, this section. I'm almost grazing the surface of this. I'm pulling it forwards whilst I'm suctioning, because there's no other way. There we are. This section anyway is coming forwards, but it's stretching a bit like Blu-Tack and chewing gum, hence why I used that analogy at the beginning. Okay, I'm just going with the ear pick. Of course, now, we don't know exactly where the eardrum is. We don't know how thick this layer is. So with the pick, I've got to be very, very cautious, because I could quite easily penetrate into the patient's eardrum and possibly perforate it. So we can be very tentative when we're using instruments like this, this deep in the ear. So I'm just breaking this up. I'm trying to lift it away from the front wall, but still quite adherent. And again, I'm just going for the floor of it again. I'm bringing it forwards and I can, even watching it back, I mean, this video was taken a couple of months ago. I can just feel that tension on that suction. I don't want to go too fast. If I come away with the suction probe too quickly, then I'm going to lose that suction grip. but I haven't, if I don't apply enough pressure, I'm not dragging this forward. So we're literally, it's a tug of war. We're dragging this forwards now. I've kind of had enough of the games with the ear canal. We need to get this out. So really bring it forwards. I'm just going to make sure the patient's always comfortable. That's my main priority. And see, we get in there, it's coming, we're wriggling it, pulls to the left and right. So this is, I don't know if this is going to detach. I can't remember exactly how it ends up coming out, and if it comes out in one plug or two plugs, we shall see. This piece feels like it's going to separate. So if we push in too much with the suction probe, you're going to block it, you're going to make an indentation, but if you don't do it enough, you're not going to get the suction grip. I think this is when I rotate it up. So I'm always coming down and back up. A little bit just broke away. I'm just anticipating all the armchair experts with the abuse that I'm going to get with this one. Oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So it's going to be an interesting comment section, I think. So again, I'm just going to bring this forwards. Again, you can see why I was calling it almost like a Blu-Tack or chewing gum. It was stretching. Now, can you see the tail end of that? You've got that, the white rim. That's keratin. That was what was attaching this to the canal wall. So we've separated that. And it is just going to come out in a big mass, isn't it? I'm rotating it upwards. Now I've got to navigate this out of the ear because it's such a large piece. At certain parts, the size of this plug exceeds the width and the diameter of the ear canal itself. You can see all that white periphery. So that's all dead skin that's attached to the plug, but also was attached to the canal wall. And that was what was in part stopping this wax plug coming out. So it's going to be a lot of erythema in there. It's going to be quite red. And I'm going to put an arrow. So that's the anterior recess. And it is there's more, even with the endoscope, we can't fully view inside that. But that plug was lodged into that gap. So it was larger. You can see about 0.5 centimetre away where that white rim is, which is where the skin was attached on the underneath of the plug. The wax plug filled that anterior recess. So the width of that plug was larger than this section, the isthmus, the narrowing. It's really red at the bottom. There's a bit of clarinetting there, so I peel that away. I'm not overly concerned by that. There's just a bit of skin there, probably at the base and also at the top. So I'm going to see if it comes away. If not, we're going to leave. I think it clarinetted and we just left it in the end. I think there it was just making a bit of noise. I just decided to leave, if memory serves me correct. So that's the patient's right ear, and this is their left ear. This is also a challenge, but it wasn't as impacted. Again, you can see all that dry, flaky skin. So I've just gone in with the ear pick, got quite a bendy ear canal here. It's really veering off to the left. I just got the ear pick into the core, similarly to the right side. It's just breaking it up, it's dissecting it. It was like a hot knife through butter. And once again, I'm going to go into core. And as I'm retrieving this hook, ear pick out, sorry, just be careful once more you don't graze the bottom of the ear canal because it can cause some damage. So I don't know the best way to describe the consistency. I don't know if it's, I wouldn't say it's really soft butter because it has got some firmness to it, but it's not obviously butter fresh from your refrigerator. So I don't know if that would be the best analogy, or whether it would be chewing gum or Blu-Tack. But I think you get the point I'm trying to make. You get my drift, where it's probably the most trickiest type of wax to remove, truth be told. If it was rock solid, then we can just prise it out. I can use the ear pick or the ear hook, and it should come out in a big piece. If it's really, really soft, and not that I don't really enjoy those procedures, it's right liquid state, and it gets a bit messy, but at least we know it's going to come away. But with this type, when you're pulling and trying to extract it out, you're just stretching it, you're spreading it. I think that happens here. You can see it's just stretching it. You can't use forceps. I think I did try forceps here as well. And even with the suction, it can get blocked, and so you just don't get that purchase on it. So what's more, I'm inserting the hook at the same curvature of the ear canal, so I know the ear canal is going to the left. I want to get it almost in the middle of the ear canal. So we're looking straight into this patient's ear, and if this wax plug wasn't there and we're visualizing the inside, we'll see the back part of the ear canal. The eardrum is way to the left. It's almost 25-30 degree tangent to the left. So we wouldn't actually visualize the eardrum if on this particular angle. So we're going to have to go in afterwards and rotate the endoscope to the left around 20 or 30 degrees, and then you'll see the eardrum. So I'm going to get to the back, I'm going to lift it upwards. I think it's reeling away just at the entrance here. So this is the first bend on the right, and we know that because of the hair strands. And with the suction, you've got to be gentle. If I go too quick, I'm just going to break this into little pieces. So I have to give it enough vigor to tease it through. We've got to bring this is larger than the entrance of the ear canal. But I need to retain that suction grip. If you move it too fast or you're too vigorously, you're just going to lose that grip. So the sucker will, essentially what I mean by that, it will come away from the plug itself. So I'm trying to go in and behind with the pick. Whenever you've got a bendy ear canal like this, it's always tricky to use the manual instruments, because although the instruments I'm using have got a 30-degree angulation bend on it, the bend is more outside of the ear and not inside the ear. So when you've got a bendy ear and a straight section of the instrument, it's very difficult. With the wax scope, it's probably a bit easier actually, because what the wax scope will do, and I've been using that a lot recently, before we're launching it very soon, is that the wax scope, the specular, will straighten the ear, so you've got as much as possible, and so you've got a straight view towards the eardrum, and then you can insert the instrument accordingly in a straight line. So yeah, it's just the forceps just broke it up. And so, because the instruments are, although the angulation is more helpful into the insertion of the instrument into the ear, and also it's not going to obscure your view. With the straighter instruments, more so, not with the endoscope, but more so if you're using a microscope or head-worn loops to remove earwax, because your head's further away with the microscope and the loops, your hand, sometimes when you're using the straight instruments, it'll be in front of your eye line, essentially, so your view will get obscured inside the ear. So when you've got the 30-degree bend on the instrument that I've developed, your hand won't obscure your view. It won't interject with the optical axis. But the section that goes in your ear itself is still straight. And again, even here, I've got to be careful, because you've got a wax plug there. You can't really see beyond that. And I don't want to make contact with the canal wall, which is very easily done when you've got a bendy ear canal. So really, I think we've used all the instruments here again. So I've just stretched the ear open. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna use so I really had to stretch the ear to get the hook in, otherwise I wouldn't be able to get it in that trajectory. It'll be coming from a side angle, and then I won't be getting right in and behind the plug. But there is a nice gap there at the top. Again, as I'm dragging it through, this is where it's important that you know the ear anatomy, because I can't drag in a straight line. I've got to, as the instrument's coming towards the entrance, I've got to take into account the curvature. And I've also got to know the height of the ear canal, because if I embed this instrument too deep downwards, I'm just going to graze the floor of the ear canal. And I've done that before. I think if everyone's honest with themselves, any ear care specialist, we've all caused a bit of trauma before. Minor trauma. I've never caused any serious trauma, touch wood. But we've all, I'm sure it's just human nature. So that's the patient's eardrum. That was nice and healthy. It wasn't as red, there's less erythema there. These are the plugs that we removed. In fact, I think the plug to the right is, from the left ear is larger, the right was the worst. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Take care, keep well, and speak soon. Bye.